What do you think is the creepiest / most disturbing unsolved mystery ever? I am an avid unresolved mysteries reader, and I don't know why it has stuck with but Carly Goose. 16-year-old girl called her stepmother to pick her up from a party, reportedly was too scared to sleep because she thought someone would kill her, and the next day she disappeared. There was some weird interviews and dynamics between step-parents and birth parents, and a bunch of theories abound. Her father was just arrested for corporal injury to spouse. No further details have been released, but that's a pretty scary charge. Seems like dad has anger issues and stepmom disliked the girl. Her poor mother. The disappearance of Zeb Quinn. He was 18 years old when he went missing in 2000. Was working his shift at a local Walmart and afterwards wanted to look at a new car with a colleague, when he allegedly received a call that made him take off frantically. After that he was never seen again. The strangest thing is that a few days later his car was found in a parking lot, with the headlights turned on, a pair of lips and an exclamation mark drawn on the back window in pink lipstick, and a live Labrador puppy sitting inside. In 2017 the colleague was arrested for his murder, but all the strange details still make no sense at all. That all just sounds so strange. Poor bloke, and his poor family. I doubt they'll ever get a proper answer. Not to mention that the prime suspect in that case was convicted of killing Christy Shane, Food Network contestant, her husband and their child. Their bodies were found in the wood stove of his home. The disappearance of Lars Mittank, a German man who went on vacation in Bulgaria in 2014. He was last seen at the airport, where he was brought into a private room by airport security after his mother had called telling them her son was behaving strangely, saying there were people after him over the phone the night before. A few minutes later, he's seen bolting, and I mean full-on sprinting out of the room without his luggage. He ran out of airport, scaled the huge fences around the perimeter and was never seen again. Hundreds of witnesses, CCTV footage and a police presence, and the man still basically disappeared off the face of the earth in broad daylight. Las Cruces Bowling Alley Massacre. In February 1990, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, two intruders entered the bowling alley through an unlocked door before opening time. The cook, Ida Algeen, was forced by one gunman to go to the office where Stephanie Senek, her 12-year-old daughter Melissa Repass, and Melissa's 13-year-old friend Amy Hauser were being held by the other gunman. The women and girls were forced to lie on the ground while the gunman stole $5K from a safe. The alley's pin mechanic, Steve Terron, arrived at the alley with his daughters, 6-year-old Paula and 2-year-old Valerie, who he'd been unable to find a babysitter for. The gunman then shot everyone. The gunman haphazardly set fire to the office, but it didn't burn much. After they left, 12-year-old Melissa was able to call the police despite being shot 5 times. She and the cook would survive their wounds. Melissa's mother, Stephanie Senek, would initially survive, but would succumb to complications 9 years later. 2-year-old Valerie would survive long enough to be taken to the hospital, but died there. The gunmen have never been identified. After the incident, Stephanie Senek's father, Ronald Senek, who I believe owned the bowling alley and was out of state at the time of the killings, didn't cooperate with authorities. Some believe that the killings might have been a targeted hit in retaliation against Ronald for something he did. That's awful. A family goes to a bowling alley to have some fun, and this happens. I remember watching the Unsolved Mysteries episode about a person in 1977 who would send creepy anonymous letters to random folks in a small town. Actually threatening ones, too. The sender started by mailing up a woman and telling her, if I remember right, that they knew she was cheating on her husband with a superintendent, something she vehemently denied. Then they threatened her husband by saying he'd be in danger if he did not stop the affair. The couple decided to take it upon themselves to hunt the sender down. That ended with the husband dead in his crashed pickup truck. The sender kicked the wife while she was down by leaving threatening signs along her bus route, at least one of which had an actual booby trap on it. They found and arrested a suspect, but it's still unknown today if he's the actual sender. He denies it. The idea that somebody has been quietly studying your life just so they could begin to anonymously blackmail you, or make up a rumor to blackmail you with, is pretty damn scary. Addendum: in 2021. A forensics professional claimed that the police were right all along and the suspect who was released by then was the sender. But the massive hole in her claim is how he was still able to write letters during his time in prison. Alicia Navarro. She went missing, presumably after sneaking out to meet with a man she was talking to on Discord. It's creepy because of how real it is. As a naive girl who met up with guys I befriended online as a teenager, I just cannot stop thinking about how goddamn lucky I was. What creeps me out the most is that whoever she was talking to knew that cops would look on her phone/laptop and told Alicia to take them with her. Yep. And he was very careful as to give zero information that could even partially reveal his docs. Burner phones all the way down. The case of the Isdal woman. The dead and burned body of a woman was found in a valley called Isdal near Bergen, Norway in 1970. She also had an unholy amount of sleeping pills in her stomach. Many people can remember seeing her before. She was reportedly really noticeable and showed strange behavior. She was seen talking to strangers in her room, physically attracted different room numbers to the hotel rooms she stayed in, much more weird stuff. All labels in her clothes were cut off and she owned several passports. She claimed to be Belgian most of the time. She was reportedly heard speaking German. Theories range from her being a luxury prostitute to her being deeply involved in Cold War espionage. The case of the Jennifer Fairgate, which is not her real name. The body of a woman was found in the Oslo Plaza Hotel in Oslo, Norway in 1995. On the first glance it looked like she committed suicide with a handgun, but many things point to her being not killing herself. Like the strange way the gun was held in her hand and the fact that there was no blood on the hand she had the gun in, even though blood was found all around the room. She was seen talking to an unidentified man who visited her hotel room. All labels in her clothes were cut off. What's strange about her luggage that was found in the room is that she had any underwear with her, even though she had lots of dresses and pair of stockings with her. She claimed to be Belgian and gave an address in Belgium when she checked in. The address doesn't exist. She was reportedly speaking German when checking in. Theories range from her being a luxury prostitute to her being involved in espionage. I find it strange how close those two cases are in many aspects. I cut the labels of certain items of clothing because they seem uncomfortable. That alone isn't too weird, but both these cases involving women with all the labels cut off is very odd indeed. David Glenn Lewis went missing from Amarillo, Texas on Super Bowl Sunday in 1993. He was an attorney and former judge. His wife and daughter were out of town for the weekend shopping. He stayed back. They got back and the VCR was set to record the game. He had a sandwich made in the fridge, and his wedding ring was next to the sink where he left it when he washed his hands. So they figured out he was there before the game started, as they had to manually set the VCR. Over a decade later, in 2004, a John Doe was connected to him, all the way in Washington state. The circumstances of the then Doe's death, February 1, 1993, Monday, one day after Lewis was assumed to be home last, a man was walking along Washington 24 at approximately 10:30 p.m. at night. He was fatally struck by a vehicle which fled the scene. He had no ID on him, and was wearing what was described as Army surplus clothing. A cold case detective was able to connect it to Lewis in 2004 and give closure to his family. There are so many other details. He told his wife he was in danger but wouldn't explain. Weird tickets were purchased, money was deposited, his car was found with his wallet, etc. under the floor mats. This is the one I cannot shake from my mind. This is a pretty good short read, but I know there's some great write-ups here on Reddit too.